So, hi everyone, and welcome to the SAP Press Book Club. I'm Kendall Tyler, your host, and today's book of the month is SAP Activate. And this actually is our very first book club event for the year. So we're kicking it off with Activate, which I think is great. We're also going to be doing these are the authors. I'll introduce them in a minute. We're going to do a different way of kind of interacting because we thought, the best time is when people ask questions. So we're going to enable everybody to actually ask questions while we're talking, and the authors can actually answer your questions. And we're going to kind of do it on a topic basic, so that'll help everybody as well understand where we are and what the questions and answers actually pertain to. So let me first of all introduce our authors. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves to you because I think that's pretty cool. So let's start off with Jan.
Hey everybody, nice seeing you all joining us. We are sitting with Sven here in Newtown Square in the US in SAP's North America headquarters. My name is Jan Musil. I'm the Chief Product Owner for SAP Activate here at SAP.
All right, take it away. Go ahead, Sven.
Definitely we will. And pleasure to be here together with Jan, the guru of SAP Activate. Absolutely. And finally, again, Kendall, thanks for hosting us. So looking forward to great questions from the audience and from the network, because actually that's why we're doing it, right?
I love the mugs. Next week, I'm going to grab you one. Those are great. All right, Shri, take it away.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. To share what is part of this book and also to get to know your thoughts on it. I'm super excited to have this conversation going on.
Perfect. All right. So now, again, as we know, our book is Activate, so it's not that big. And we're going to actually start this off as I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and then we're going to kind of go through and you guys can ask, and we're going to keep the chat open for the authors so they can see what's going on. So first of all, we're going to start off with Clean Core and Business AI. Okay. So Clean Core, as in the Clean Core concept. How do the Clean Core principles influence SAP implementations? And what practical steps do you recommend for organizations to maintain it while customizing their solutions?
And maybe I'll give it a start from the motivation that we have behind that. And I think it all goes back on the era of where cloud was born, which for me is a proxy for standardization. It's the highest degree of standardization you can achieve with a software as a service solution, to be honest. And I think the idea was no matter what type of solution you use, SAP, by the way, and non-SAP, you should strive for start with the standard as long, and then afterwards think about are you truly special and where are you truly special. Why I'm saying that is actually also what I see in the DNA of SAP Activate. And by the way, it starts with the name because you don't customize, you activate. That said, now you have large companies, you have small companies, you have companies in certain industries, and of course there are specialities. But just when we chatted this morning, right, when you were first on stage with let's fit to standard, I think we were throwing things at you. But the idea is still an intriguing one. The more you can standardize, the better you are to consume innovation. That's what it's all about. Now your core business, and we do run significant businesses, like 80% of the worldwide GDP runs through our systems at SAP. So there's an obligation to stay in an innovative path. And you can only do that if exactly in that core, you keep it as clean as possible. And that's why there's no magic fit. It's actually Activate is the foundation for striving for that standardization, for making the right things. And that's why, of course, behind Clean Core, there's always Activate.
And that's correct. So let me take it maybe a level deeper. When we talk about clean core, we are looking at several dimensions of clean core, right? It starts with business process, and then if that business process is not a direct fit, we're starting to consider extensibility, integration, and maybe data impact, which then drives impact on your operations. Those are kind of the core dimensions of clean core. Now, when it comes to running your project, the first thing that you need to do, and that's very different, or I wouldn't say it's very different, but it's somewhat different from the traditional governance. Traditional governance in projects is focused on, managing people, managing decisions, managing scope, issues, risks, all that stuff. We still do that. We're not saying don't do that. We still do that. But in addition to that, we are recommending to set up so-called solution standardization board, right, in the prepare phase, where you set up your governance for solution design so you can design according to the clean core design principles, along the guidance that we have for extensibility, along the guidance that we have for integration, along the guidance that's there for fit to standard, standardizing processes. I mean, fit to standard as a term is originating in SAP Activate. It is really introduced to the field from that concept of why would I tailor my business processes if standard is good enough, if standard functionality can be used, because that limits my options to adopt innovation, as Sven mentioned, and be on the innovative path. If you look to the total extreme of where clean core is adopted, it's in our public cloud solutions, where we have customers. We were just talking about it this morning. We have customers that go through the upgrade cycle in a 4-week window. In 4 weeks, we upgrade their test systems, weekend one, and then 4 weeks later, their production and development systems are upgraded. So they have new features, capabilities, then they can activate post-upgrade. Most companies do not, and we do not recommend that you activate anything during the upgrade. We want to have that after the upgrade. So kind of taking it a little deeper into more technical and tactical side of how you implement this. I don't know, Sri, if you wanted to chime in with additional aspects from your perspective.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. I mean, just taking the clean core a bit further, it also extends to the data that you also kind of get underneath from your business processes as well, right? It also ensures that your data is not absolutely mashed up, siloed. It gives you a sense that it's a very clean data that you also maintain. So which also means that your upgrades, your upgrades that you're consuming, the innovations that you're consuming on a month-on-month basis or whenever it's being pushed out is also not having any implication for you from the data. Gone are the days where on the on-premise world where you had those data issues also cropping in many times when you do that. And that also is a good segue into how business AI gets infused in this clean core as well, right? So all these things kind of ties in together to start with a very clean core, clean extensibility, data being pretty clean, and hence you're able to also to start infuse AI business processes on top of it to get everything running together. So all this story stitched together from that starting point.
Well, that's pretty cool. And if you're wondering what's going on with me, I have 2 giant labs that are wrestling under my desk. They only picked this time to do that. Usually they're laying here sleeping, and now they're all fighting under my desk. WrestleMania. So, but let's get back to Activate. So with the business AI integration, what roles does business AI play in SAP Activate methodology? And what are the key considerations for embedding AI in business processes effectively?
So the simple answer is good AI needs good data. And corporations run a lot of solutions and they have data all over the place. Now, the beauty of the data that actually SAP manages is, and we cleaned up house as well, is that's very valuable data. It's like, for me, it's the high octane fuel actually that runs a car or an airplane or whatever, or it is the big electrical vehicle battery, to be clear. So I think that data is so precious that you should clean up there first. And if you want to automate something, you better know that the data changes with every transaction. So it's not like in the old times where you take the data out and then you do some magic outside and then you ask, hey, by the way, here's a good report. No, it needs to be in the business processes. And where Activate provides, again, the foundation is knowing the processes, knowing the data, like Sri also commented, that allows you also to do meaningful automation, which, of course, AI is all about.
I
And
love
kind of,
AI.
Kendall, to build on that, it starts with Joule, right? It starts with Joule and it goes into the business AI capabilities. So if you look at Activate today, and that was not the case when we released the book, we update Activate regularly. So we have just released guidance for setting up Joule in our public cloud solutions. And we're now working to bring that content into our private cloud solutions as well. So, covering the RISE with SAP aspects of the cloud ERP. So that's our first step. And of course, we are on a journey to enable all the AI scenarios through Activate, integration, automation. We have a lot of foundational elements already in Activate today, and we'll continue to bring it in as the AI capabilities are released for our customers.
Perfect.
Really,
Now,
just adding on to it, right? We see AI as GPT, not the GPT as pre-trained transformers, but as a general purpose technology. Yeah. Fundamentally, general purpose technologies are redefined once in 40 years, which kind of adds to the economy and also to the efficiency scale. And AI is one such GPT for us, general purpose technology. And with that, you want to reimagine your business processes fundamentally. So it's not just about taking the same old business processes and running into a new system. And Activate, as Jan and Sven said, gives you those fundamental capabilities that helps you reimagine business processes in a new way, a new form and fashion for efficiency. Automation is a first starting point in AI, but end state is your efficiency goals of what I would call as a job to be done, right? When the job to be done is defined, how do you get efficient with that? And Activate gives you those foundational things out of the box for you to get the jobs to be done faster and efficient.
definitely. Now, we've got two questions that have popped up in the chat. So let's see. We have Stella, and she's wondering in cleaning the data, whoops, somebody else popped up here. In cleaning the data, how important is archiving, and are there certain areas more important to clean versus others?
So I'll start with the archiving aspect. So when you are transitioning from, say, ECC over to S4, your critical path is to analyze what you're bringing with you. What is not only data, but also the customized code, right? What's the custom code? What are the extensions that you're bringing over? And you want to be very ruthless in archiving and removing as much of that old technical debt. And I'll tell you why. If you ask AI capabilities to help you make a decision, do you want that decision to be based on your data from 2012 or 1985? That's really the thinking behind it, is to make sure that you have as clean of a start. And of course, you archive, you bring your data into data lake so you can refer to it later if needed. But you want that system to be as clean as possible from the beginning.
Now, I love Paul's question because I think this happens to most customers. Clean core, great idea, but how do you get the business to change their mindset, to get rid of the customization? Any ideas?
Yeah, maybe I can start with that, because actually us three had the pleasure, I guess, to be in one organization called Product Success, where we, as part of engineering, looked at, I think, thousands of projects from the birth of S4. And one topic that I definitely learned is good projects distinguish from the not so good ones. Once you have less than 20 to 30% invest into change management, because it's a mindset topic. It's a mindset of IT, it's a mindset of the business, it's a mindset of do I tailor a solution for my needs or do I capitalize on the standards? And what is very clear, it is effort, and definitely a clean core is not black and white. There are extensions and there are topics that do make sense. Now, the decision, how much, and the decision where you do that, side by side or in core, and at least document it. So not like the people who then, after 5 years, give you another waterfall analysis about what you should do. No, be clever on what you do. And this is definitely a transformation. That's actually the hardest part of any digital transformation, that you need to bring your business with you. What is the value of getting now much more innovation faster? Because you bury yourself too fast, and then you're challenged by actually the luggage that you created.
Yeah, I think you need to share the value. Once you share the value, I think everybody jumps on board. The business kind of does.
Look, Kendall,
Not just a CIO lead conversation.
If you look at how we approach these projects, right? Activate really moved us from having these key users only in the workshops, in the blueprinting. Remember blueprinting?
Oh, yeah.
We are bringing key business users into the conversations from the beginning in explore phase to conduct the fit to standard. But we don't let them go back to the business. We want them to stay connected at the hip so they can see how that solution is taking shape. So that's one key change. Second key change is in blueprinting, we often used whiteboards and a PowerPoints and all kinds of offline tools. Today, we are doing show and tell in the system. So people can actually see how that application looks like, what it does, what it doesn't do, and they can make informed decisions whether they really need that modification extension or not. And that's a big game changer. When I was talking with our customer success teams that are looking at successful projects and the indicators and drivers of success, not very surprisingly, OCM is not a high risk as much as it was in the past. It's much easier to manage because we are infusing OCM into the way we are doing projects with Activate if we follow the guidance. So that's another aspect to consider. This is not your 1985 implementation of R3 where we have a extensive blueprinting for say 6-8 months and then another 6-8-12 months to implement it. We're looking at much more compressed timelines, leveraging standards, so we reduce the number of decisions that everybody needs to make in the project, and the less decisions you need to make, the more with standard, the more standard you follow, the faster the project.
Yeah, I love Signavio, by the way, just to let you know. I think that is a really cool, I'm sure you guys use that a lot with your projects. So we have, let's see here. We have another question about private and public cloud. What about the servers and the warehouse? What does it mean as far as private cloud? So in-house data warehouse at our premises or hired. I think people are very confused on, what is in-house versus public, private. Do you want to kind of give a real overview of that?
Let me give it a try, as I, to be honest, don't get the complete gist of the question. But here's the topic. In corporations, large or small, your data will not all be in the cloud. Your way of you run your businesses and your processes, that's not a clean sheet. So means depending on your business, depending actually also region or how you interconnect with across the value chain, not only inside the gates of your company, there will be different data sources. The question is, how important is the data? And I think that's maybe where Baram wants to lead to is, how much do you do yourself and how much you trust actually a vendor? How much do you actually leverage classical outsourcing of data and manage IT? I think at the end, you need to look and come back to the business process. And the business process will guide you very clearly where you keep your data and what data you keep close to your chest and what data is maybe something that you even don't use for automation. Now, again, we do have those options. At the end, the closer you can get to standard, and we learned it, I think, the best in the software as a service business, that the standardization leads to fast innovation. And so that means look at the business process. Where do you see innovation happening for your business meaningfully? And to that question, if it is you run warehouses and basically you want to keep the data there because it's not differentiating, do so. But you're going to realize very soon that the access to the data, the participation of that data to automation might be lead to a decision. I rather have it much, much closer to my chest or accessible via the cloud.
Yeah, I know with the whole business data cloud popping up, it's going to be very exciting times for everybody, I think.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
So Victor has a question for project implementations with data migrations from other systems to S4. He wants to know kind of like the considerations to be clean core in a 2B system. How do you leverage Activate to enable it?
So there's a couple of journeys. So we are talking about moving from non-SAP to S4 private. Okay. So in that case, you're going through the exercise of mapping the data to the data structures in S4, right? So you want to go through the process of identifying where that data is, how clean it is, how much cleanup is needed. Do you have duplicate, triplicate, quadruplicate vendors that you need to clean up? Do you need to clean up your BOM items? Do you need to clean up your materials? There's a lot of decisions and analysis that you need to do upfront. The exercise of mapping those fields to the fields of S4 is relatively straightforward once you identify the data and identify how much effort it is to clean it up. We're starting to work with a partner in the data space to include some specific guidance similar to what we have done with Signavio, with LeanIX, and with topics in testing, like our work with Tricentis, which are part of the integrated toolkit. So stay tuned for more content coming in the data space. We are very excited about that collaboration, but I cannot talk about the specifics because it's kind of not quite baked yet. We're getting there. But when it comes to like the standard data management work stream in Activate, it will give you the guidance mostly in the area of how to use SAP data management, data migration tools to bring your data from your legacy or other systems into S4 during your project. So you'll find that in Activate. Just pick the data management work stream. I will give you the playbook for that.
Excellent. Now, do you guys want to jump to another topic, or do you want to stay on this one? I mean, the next question is kind of intriguing to me too, but I don't know. Is it Tardiz? I'm going to say his name wrong. Help me with the name.
Tarizzo, maybe?
Marconi. Yeah.
Marconi
So,
started.
yeah, it's about DeepSeek and how we use that, and has SAP started working with that. And I think let me take a quick stab at it. I mean, SAP is in the business of business AI. Yeah, not as a technology provider. So fundamentally, what we do is we do have a layer called as a proxy layer, so that any of the functional capabilities or models or the LLMs that comes on could be leveraged as a capability as long as it follows the responsible, reliable, and relevant ethics of AI for us to infuse into the business AI part of it, right? So those are the fundamentals that we apply from an AI ethics policy. And if that passes it, of course, you could bring the LLM model or bring your own LLM model and attach it into the BTP proxy layer and start using it to infuse it with your business processes that runs, right? So that's the way we look at it. So it's not just about DeepSeek, but any LLM models in that function should be able to you should be able to leverage it from a BTP proxy layer, provided it follows the AI ethics policy that SAP has laid out in a clean way.
That was good. That was a good answer. So let's talk about, you guys have, there was a book that we did about a couple years ago. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. And you guys have improved the book and the content. So there is updated SAP activated SAP Activate guidance. And what are the most significant updates to SAP Activate content in this new book? And how do they address the changes faced by the modern SAP implementation teams?
Yeah, we spent about 25 minutes talking about one of them, which is the clean core and AI, right? Those are the big updates. The other big updates that you will find in the book is the enhancements implemented in Cloud ALM. Cloud ALM and Activate, we are connected at the hip. We are basically guiding customers how to use Cloud ALM effectively during their implementation projects. And there's a lot of enhancements that happen both on the operations and implementation side of Cloud ALM. So we have expanded that section quite substantially. We did, and maybe Sri, I'll kick it over to you to talk about the 2-tier, because I think that's a significant update as well.
No, 100%. Thanks a lot for that. So one space that we also see where in the evolving IT landscape, we also see that customers have a choice of how do you want to implement your capabilities. And what we did see about a few years back is there were federated ways of doing it, headquarters subsidiary models of doing it, or also kind of an ecosystem model of how you want to run your multi-tier ERP systems. And SAP Activate methodology provides you those business processes, reimagined business processes for the current generational functions of how do you want to look at business process, some of it running in the headquarters, some doing in subsidiary, having a clean way of having that connectivity done out of the box, so that these are not something that you need to hardwire with a system integrator coming in and doing it for you, but gets out of the box for you, pre-delivered with what we call as accelerators, so which gives you that kind of a real acceleration from an integration perspective. It's not just integration, it's a semantic integration of how we look at it, so that your business processes can run out of the box. Yeah. So those new business processes have also been reimagined, given the complexity of and the geodynamic politics of what we live in, right? So we give you the ability for you to spin off where do you want. The question that comes before, right? Where do I keep the data, on-premise or private cloud or public cloud, right? So we want to give you that choice of, say, you believe that there are considerations that you believe that you want to keep this closer to your space. We do that, and business processes should be able to run irrespective of what these deployment strategies are, and that's been a big fundamental refresh that's also come into this space.
So what about have y'all improved the SAP Activate roadmaps to accommodate some industry specific requirements or unique project demands?
Yes, we did. So we worked very closely with Sven's team to look at industry cloud tie-ins and plugins with Activate. And thank you, Kendall, for reminding me, because there's so much. I even, like, as Sri was talking, I'm like, we also changed the content for the best practices and enterprise management layer, introduced Signavio Process Navigator. There's a lot that went into the book. We had basically touched every single page of the book. There's nothing that would stay exactly the same. There's a lot of innovation, and we are in Activate. We work in these bi-weekly sprint cycles, so there is always something new every 2 weeks. So this is more of a summary of what happened over the 2+ years since we had the previous version of the book. And there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of innovation that SAP is bringing to the market. There's a lot of learnings from projects that we bring in. There's a lot of focus on the lessons learned from public cloud, bringing them into private, which you can see through that notion of clean core and golden rules. So there's a lot of content that our readers will find refreshed and updated. So if you bought the previous book, there's definitely a lot more new stuff
Oh,
that is
yeah.
in this book.
Maybe it's a good segue also to the question I'm reading from Rundle. So how I get started, because part
Yeah.
of that is also that connect with the SAP Activate community, thousands of practitioners who share openly about their learnings and their tips and tricks. Because next to the certification, which of course you will allude to, it is also that ecosystem that we're creating around that. Because with every project we learn new, and that's why we keep the latest and greatest also there. So call out, go to that community, register, and of course, certify.
Certify, read the blogs, and if you have topics to share them. It's not only about SAP experts sharing their learnings. So we have a broad ecosystem that's leveraging Activate in their deployments, and sharing your lessons with the rest of the community is very valuable.
And get the
This is
notifications. If you
awesome.
sign up for that, get the notifications because they'll email you when something changes. And it's great because then you hear different topics pop up in the community. Okay, let's talk about guidance for extensibility, best practices. Can you elaborate on the guidance provided for managing extensibility in SAP S/4HANA Cloud projects? So how does it balance flexibility and system integrity?
That's a good question. So there are some really detailed resources that our colleagues on the engineering BTP extensibility side developed and shared. They're available on sap.com, and they're linked from SAP Activate. It's like if we look at how we opened up the session where Sven kind of set the stage of why we are doing clean core, I took it to the next level, and Sri took it to the next level for data. That document is taking it to the level of the developer, letting them know these are the technologies to consider in side-by-side extensibility. These are technologies you should consider when you're extending on stack. Here are the new things to apply, to use. So there is a tailored guidance for different roles that you will find in Activate. And a lot of time we are not providing all the content inside the core Activate. We are leveraging white papers and documents that SAP is sharing with the broader community. So we can narrow it down to specific like integration specialist or extensibility specialist or developer.
Yeah. Don't you love BTP? I mean, that's game
Oh,
changer. Ah, I definitely think so. Okay, so we got a bunch of questions coming up over here. And before we jump into two-tier implementations, okay, so we're halfway through, and I want to get to future trends. I love that. So let's answer some of these here. Activate enables specific sub-implementations such as MDG, GRC. Of course, yeah.
yes, of course. So there are a couple of things to consider. The overall flow of Activate for different solutions, which you can find in the general SAP Activate roadmap, which is solution agnostic. That gives you the guidance around how to structure your team, how to govern the solution design, although it will not go as deep as, say, when you look at the same topics designed specifically for RISE or GROW, right? So that's kind of the distinction. It will give you more general flow of steps, dependencies, and how to approach them. which actually is sufficient in some cases, because when I started with Activate, we had about 4 different roadmaps. We have 22 today, right? So when we had 4, we had colleagues from solutions like Fieldglass and Ariba that didn't have solution-specific roadmap coming back to us saying, we actually use the general roadmap to structure our project and structure the sequence of activities. And then we worked with those teams to build a solution-specific version of that guidance. So we are continually expanding the coverage, and building additional assets. I mean, one of the roadmaps that we didn't mention in the book because it was not there yet, is a roadmap for moving from SAP Solution Manager to Cloud ALM for customers that are on that journey, right? That is something that we launched in late 2024, and we continue to build up as we learn from initial projects, as we learn from customer engagements. All those learnings will come back to Activate in form of procedure guidance, in form of accelerators, in form of sometimes blog posts that we link to, because people shared their experiences.
And I like that you mentioned the generic concept is actually a very valid one for a lot of solutions. But with that knowledge about projects and very practitioners and network actually who contributes, then it gets fleshed out. So I don't think it will ever stop.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
I don't think SAP ever stops inventing something else, reinventing something else. Gosh, it's always changing. Okay, so we have some questions here around AI again. And also in regards to, I think you just kind of hit some of these about Activate encompassing like project scheduling, budget control, risk management. Emilio wanted to know, or is it an additional project methodology required to, complement it? You want to hit that one real quick?
Not sure I understand that. Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry, I was looking at the different comment. So Emilio, of course, yes. SAP Activate includes your project WBS, your project organization, your project governance, your solution design governance, charter, all those things that you would get in classical project management where you follow PMI or any other standard. We also have the guidance that goes beyond that, solution or product or project agnostic guidance that you get from these bodies that are defining very generic standards. They're very focused on SAP implementations and SAP implementation success. And kind of broadly under implementation, you can also consider topics like system conversion, selective data transition, upgrades. Those are topics that Activate covers, and we have tailored the roadmaps, the set of steps that we recommend you to follow according to the objectives that you're aiming to achieve. So if you are a company on ECC, you're looking to system convert your environment from ECC to S4 and maybe go on a RISE contract with SAP. That's a tailored journey that will guide you throughout all the steps in planning, assessing your starting point, guiding you on cleaning up the source, and then conducting your conversion activities on your sandbox, on your dev, on your QA, on your production multiple times before you go productively live. So that's the guidance that you will get in Activate across a series of what we call work streams. One of them is project management, but we also have a work stream for solution design and configuration. We have work stream for extensibility, integration, and so on. There's 10 of them, including solution adoption, where you will find topics like value management, organizational change management, and education for your end users. So there's a lot of like ground that Activate covers, because we consider projects to be multidimensional, right? They're not single dimension. It's not only about managing a project. It's not only about doing integration or extensibility. It's all of these things together in coordinated manner. And that's really the source of success.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, companies are buying other companies, selling companies, and you know, do upgrading, doing this, that, or the other, So it's very confusing, and you have to get your arms around it. So I totally agree. Now,
Kendall,
Dimitri wants, yes,
maybe I'll pick the comment from Dimitri because I read through it.
yes,
It's a pretty long one, but a couple of things. First of all, we didn't want to replicate with SAP Activate book everything that is out there with business AI, and I think Sri put it perfectly earlier how that fits together. Though in the book we look at the core elements that are needed for a good business AI. And again, repeat data, business processes. But I think the comment is super valid that they put out there because not about the tools. By the way, not about the large language models, Sri put it perfectly. It's about how close can you get with the automation to the business process. And by the way, even your value chain. That is what makes it business relevant. And it's all right what you say there. And I think we can definitely help. But I would recommend look into our strategy of business AI, which is open from a technology perspective, but very clearly focusing on exactly problems like you said. And that's why I think the old days that we know from analytics times, like ETL, extract, transport, load, they kill you in AI because once you get the data out there, you lose the context. You need to keep the semantical context about exactly that example you have in there. And again, that means that when you run your project, when you activate certain functionality, keep that in mind, that the semantic consistency is an important one. That is also a change in mindset when you talk to business, where maybe they want the next customization around the corner. And you can explain them, yep, even if I would be willing and happy to do that, you run the risk that you can't get good automation. Simple as that.
Really adding on to what Sven says, right? I mean, you can run Activate using AI, but the point is it's a generalization, right? You're not going to get an accuracy of more than 70%, and it's going to hallucinate post-start, right? I mean, so you also need to look at what are these AI tools that you want to use and how much you want to base your Activate business processes based on these AI tools as well, right? So there is a level of guardrail and other things that you want to look at it. Use it as a guidance and not really as a way to say that 100% you start believing it and start using what gets thrown out of it, because it does start hallucinating if you don't lose the semantics that goes along with the data that you hold. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
That
totally,
means on the fly, Dimitri, are possible, just to answer your part of your question directly.
and I even think AI is confusing when I just ask it a question. You have to ask it a different question, this question, to figure out what it's saying. It's still all very new, I think, for everybody. But we'll get there with AI one of these days. But let's talk about two-tier implementations. Because I, you know, multiple instances, so challenges in two-tier implementations and models. So what are some of the unique challenges that you've observed with the two-tier ERP implementations? And how does SAP Activate address these complexities?
Sure, you want to start?
Really. If you look at the current evolving environment, right? I mean, the business environment that we live in, there's a lot of geopolitical stuff that goes on, and how you reimagine your business processes is also super relevant. There are a lot of mergers and acquisitions that you rightly spoke about. There are alliances that are being formed. There are stuff that becomes a part of your ecosystem community. So when you have this kind of a setup, it is not just about one installation, one setup, one type of deployment that goes on. Every deployment is a kind of a networked model of installation that needs to be looked at. So two-tier is just is a synonym for what I would call as a multi-tier deployment that goes on, because it's an n-tier deployment that we look at, and which also kind of mimics what is available in our customers' landscape too. So that the customers say that these workloads will go to the cloud, these workloads will remain on a private cloud instance, and these workloads are what I would call as government-related alliances that where you need to put it into a secure cloud, which is more civic cloud related. So all these installations are super relevant. And now we don't want these business processes that you run to be constrained by these topology of systems that exist. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why starting with, say, for example, master data, right? I mean, going back to the MDG example, you also want to ensure that the data single source of truth is relevant even in this kind of system topology, and also ensure that whether irrespective of what company or subsidiary or headquarters or ecosystem vendor that you use, you want to have a single source of data truth that exists, and also ensure that if there is a change that gets done, it also gets replicated and notified to all your irrelevant ecosystem vendors in that system, right? So just a simple data example, and the same can also go to look at a GRC example, right? A risk compliance that you want to run with your global conglomerate and also against all your subsidiaries, right? So this flexibility that you have to ensure that your business processes are spawning across multiple types of installations and types of business purpose-driven installations that customers have done, and still have the same single unified view for you to run it in a seamless way is super important. And hence, we wanted to get to a state where we could also define these out-of-the-box capabilities that comes to you in finance, sales, procurement, manufacturing, production, and so on, in a way that customers can use it out of the box for us to drive value. And that's been one of our fundamental challenges that we see in the market, and we wanted to address it in a way that it could also be consumable and more relevant for them as well.
Okay, so that sounded super good. Sounded like, yeah, I could do that. Where have you done that? Give me some real world examples of how you've done this. I mean, this is complicated. So can you give me any kind of any use case?
Yeah, let's start with some of the scenarios that we've seen very early. Classical headquarter who has the luxury to be equipped with the resources, means savvy people, IT departments, business actually defining architecture. And then you suddenly have a subsidiary, could be actually a smaller country, could be actually a sales office. Why wouldn't you just start there with the highest degree of standardization? So classical two-tier. Second, if you look at internal services, like departments who actually service the entire company, that's also a scenario. And it goes all the way towards even, and then building on what Sri said, and I mentioned it earlier, that companies start to look at their value chain, where you then have a semantical alignment across the entire value chain. Someone who actually is the provider of a certain raw material, who then goes into production, goes into manufacture, goes into a car. And that is actually where we see that basic idea of connecting systems via a clear methodology, via a clear business process strategy, via clear semantical integrity, meanwhile has taken a toll also on companies need to rethink how they build, and even calls for more standardization to be ready to consume such innovation. So those are real life examples where we're working on. And then those scenarios always start with what Jan rightfully laid out. I would call it, in my words, is use standard as long as you can and do complex later. Maybe you never come to complex.
I totally agree with you. I think you guys are involved in the entire project from start to finish. I mean, you guys have to be. Make sure everybody's doing their part and doing it the right way. And let's talk about adapting to these evolving technologies. So how does SAP Activate ensure that it stays relevant as emerging technologies like AI become more integrated into business solutions?
I think the best way to explain it is evolution of me in SAP. I was Well, I'm not
Now I'm
going to start.
interested.
I'm not going to
Now I'm
start
interested.
all
Where
the
do you
way,
start?
all the way in the beginning. But let's say if you look at the last 10 plus years, about 9 years ago, we made a decision to move SAP Activate from our consulting organization closer to the product in engineering. That had two major impacts. Before that move, Activate or ASAP previously was about 6 months to 8 months behind the product because we had to wait for the product to be released, and we were not embedded in the process of delivering software solutions and empowering customers to consume them with proper guidance. Now we are. So that's one change. We're connected with the product teams much closer than we would be in other organizational setup. The other thing that changed is that the team developing Activate transitioned from updating Activate every 12 months, 18 months, to updating it biweekly, as I mentioned previously, right? It didn't happen overnight. It took us some time. We started updating Activate quarterly to align it with the quarterly releases for public cloud solution back then. And we accelerated from there because we saw that it was really driven by our public cloud solutions. And now we also support our private cloud solutions with this cadence. So that is one of the ways how we stay in touch with the latest innovation, being part of engineering, knowing about that innovation coming, and working with teams that are bringing this innovation to the market to make sure that customers receive proper guidance.
I have a crazy question. So you mentioned ASAP methodology, and then we were in Activate. So who picked the names, and how did y'all determine what was going?
Well, ASAP was kind of established for a long time.
Yeah.
That's been around for a long time. But when that change to Activate was initiated, we knew that we had to look at branding as we were shifting from traditional deployment approach to this cloud mindset, fit to standard based world. And we wanted to make sure that everybody using Activate is aware of it because the branding is different. We don't talk about blueprinting. We really focus on doing very different things in explore phase with fit to standard. So there are a number of decisions. I don't recall who called it that, but we had a meeting as you do. And we came up with our branding experts.
They picked
a couple of names, and then we agreed that Activate is actually a very reflective name of what we are doing.
Yeah, I think, there's so many people that are still on ECC. So, we have to let them understand this is the next step, ASAP methodology to Activate method, so we're still in the same thing. But let's talk about, we have a couple minutes left, and I really would love to know about looking ahead. What are the trends or the innovations do you foresee shaping the future of SAP Activate, and how should businesses prepare for them?
Yeah, I'll start here. So three topics come to mind. I think you said it, AI will come someone. I think it's already here. We're working with automation to take the net of AI since more than 7 years. Machine learning, process robotic automation. Now dismissively, some people called it narrow AI. It's still valid. Everyone talks about the generative portion, and will change a lot of things. Agentic AI is just the latest. But aside that, I think, and that is also you referred to it when we discussed last week about how important the importance of data. And by the way, data that resides in systems that run your company, a huge part of that is in SAP, but also data that is outside. I think that combination is definitely a chapter to be a bold one and to be written. And I think again here, especially if you look at external data. Let me take an example. Currently working on a retailer who leverages public cloud retail to standardize his business processes. He actually needs weather data to figure out how actually what he should put on stock where when. And those are very simple scenarios who sound simple, but they're not if you deal with data. And that's why the idea of building those insight apps, that definitely will keep us busy. The other angle I would like to take, and I like the question from Dusan, yeah, there are many methodologies out there, and this is not the one is better than the other. It's a question about how much degree of standardization do you really strive for? That is actually, at least I think I can talk for us three, which keeps us awake at night, to say standardization is important. And we work exactly with those partners, not only the ones mentioned. Now, when we think about RISE, when we think about Clean Core, where we're certifying them, the underlying gist is exactly, again, SAP Activate, because there's no time to lose. Now, you said it, Kendall, there are less and less, by the way, ECC customers. And I'm not talking about now a product or release date. I'm talking again about the mindset. I'm talking about how you clean up your legacy a little bit. That mindset shift, and that's why another question that I see how I get started. Look into Activate, come to the community, get certified, because that mindset shift, we need all this ecosystem to drive that in the corporations they belong to. You guys are making Activate happen.
Yeah. And I would also like to say on Dusan's question there about the partners using Activate and so forth. If you are a RISE certified partner, Cognizant, I work at Cognizant, and we had to go through and prove what we do with Activate is our methodology and so forth. So that right there will show you which of the partners are using Activate. So that's a good guidance, and you can find that on Partner Finder if you're.
And Kendall, there are two aspects of the partner ecosystem. One is the qualification framework, right? Where there are requirements for partners to achieve certain level of qualification in that framework. And partners that achieve the highest level of qualification can apply for validated status, which we have done with Cognizant and others. And then in that validation session, we are actually looking into the very in-depth questions around clean core, extensibility, integration, fit to standard, use of pre-configuration, all those different aspects that are considered in that validation process. And you will see it marketed under the umbrella of RISE with SAP methodology, which is very much underlined by Activate and the guidance that we have in Activate, and enriched with additional services around onboarding, clean core quality gates, and engagement from SAP in terms of personnel. So that's I think one thing that I wanted to clarify on this call, because there may be some confusion about how these two work together. Is one replacing the other? No, they are reinforcing each other. Think of Activate as the baseline of what you need to do, and RISE with SAP methodology extending that for specifically customers moving into the RISE contracts or RISE construct.
And I love how you guys are now partnered with the consulting firms and helping them through the project. Before that was kind of like, you're off, do your thing. But now SAP and the partners are actually partnering together, which I think is wonderful. So do you have any words of wisdom for everybody out there? You know, what would be your, like, I don't know, this is what I would say to you guys if I was, starting off.
So let me start, and it's a broad topic as one of the questions alluded to. But there's an easy way to get into it, right? You can start looking at the community. That's probably your first step. Second, create your SAP ID. If you don't have SAP ID, create one and go to Roadmap Viewer and start looking through Roadmap Viewer. Those would be my first two steps for everybody to do. And third one is get knowledgeable about Cloud ALM and implementation side of Cloud ALM. There's a lot of innovation that we have brought into Cloud ALM with Activate. Now we have something called combinable roadmaps. So let's say you're implementing your ERP and SuccessFactors and Concur in one project. Instead of looking at 3 versions of Activate, you can pick these roadmaps and we'll combine it for you and give you a plan, right? So there is a innovation that we're bringing in combining the assets that we have in Activate and making it more tailored to specific customer situations, which is especially impactful now in the world of Business Suite, where we are looking at clients adopting different components of the Business Suite, either incrementally or in larger projects. And we offer the flexibility to pick and choose what you need for the scope of what you're deploying.
That's perfect. And I would love to also, if you would like to know, you can buy the book. So if you guys go onto the SAP Press website and you can get this book, put in Book Club 15, get you 15% off. So that's my coupon code, which is great. And so thank you all for coming. This was a wonderful chat, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. So we're going to be in Newtown Square together at the Enterprise Architect is it a forum? I believe it is. So we're going to do book club live. So thanks again, and we'll see you next month. New book, new topic. Thanks, guys.
Good.
Bye.
Kendall.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for
Bye-bye.
joining us. Bye-bye.